Screen, please.
Thank you, and the recordings have been started at this time.
Hello, everyone. This is John Clute, K7SYS, and I'm your amateur radio moderator for today's ARIS, Amateur Radio on the International Space Station Contact. I'm speaking to you from my home in Sandpoint, Idaho. What makes this contact a little different from the usual ARIS contact is everyone involved in this contact will be speaking to you from their home as we all work with COVID-19 restrictions. Through the help of amateur radio volunteers and the crew on the ISS, we hope to soon establish an amateur radio contact with the International Space Station as it flies more than 200 miles above the Earth over Belgium. This contact will be performed using the Amateur Radio Telebridge Network, a worldwide network of amateur radio ground stations that enable students to contact the ISS. Today, we are joined by Raji Ganguly of Sterling Middle School, as well as Bob Kepke, AA6TB, the ARIS technical mentor who helped set up this call. Raji, please tell us a little bit about Sterling Middle School.
Thank you, John. Welcome to the home of the Sterling Pioneers, Sterling Jaguars, and Guilford Gators, located in Sterling, Virginia. Our diverse school community, like many others around the world, has exhibited grace, resilience, and flexibility on our educational journey in this unique school year. Today, we are thrilled for our students to participate in this out-of-the-world distance learning experience. Their once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to speak with an astronaut on the International Space Station. Special thanks to Bob Kepke, our ARIS technical mentor, Kathy Lamont, our ARIS educational ambassador, and Steve Green, our local ham radio expert, for their valuable support. This short video coming up will provide a glimpse into our school and all the community partners who made today's event possible.
Steve, you want to run the video, please?
Greetings. I am Herman Mizell, the proud principal of Sterling Middle School, home of the Pioneers in Loudoun County, Virginia. Our vision here at Sterling Middle School is to create an educational environment characterized by a culturally responsive learning community that promotes academic excellence and service to others. Our diverse community population speaks 24 languages, and 61% of our students are English learners. Our students are exposed to STEM through multiple classes, including the Empowering Diversity in Gifted Education program, coding, robotics, history of space race, and of course, science and math. They have prepared for today's live contact since November. They have researched the history of space station and discovered how life can be so different from Earth. They have formulated questions that they will ask today. We are also excited to welcome students from Sterling Elementary School and Guilford Elementary School to our live contact event. Here are the students who will ask questions today. We're grateful for the partnership and support of the Smithsonian's Udvar Hazy Center and their STEM in 30 program, as well as Loudoun Amateur Radio Group and Sterling Park Radio Club.
Well, thank you for introducing us to your students and sharing something with us about Sterling Middle School. A very interesting video indeed. ARIS is an international program supported by amateur radio operators from around the world. Some member organizations of ARIS are the American Radio Relay League, the Worldwide AMSAT, Radio Amateur Satellite Corporation volunteers, as well as space agencies, including the Canadian Space Agency, the European Space Agency, JAXA, the Japanese Space Agency, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, and the Russian Space Agency. The amateur radio ground station that will establish contact with the ISS is ON4ISS, operated by Jan Populaer's ON7UX, located near Artesseler, Belgium. Jan, please tell us a little bit about your station and how you will handle today's contact.
Okay, John, thank you for the introduction. Well, the station that assists you today with the radio link to the International Space Station is located in Belgium, situated in the southern region near Antwerp in the town of Artesseler. This amateur radio ground station is kept operational by the UBA section AAA, the Antwerp Active Amateurs. And in the realization of this Irish Telebridge radio ground station are 6 volunteers direct involved. We use two-way radios, so we are fully computer controlled for frequency control. Antenna tracking is both in elevation as in azimuth, also computer controlled. So our antennas are already appointed in the direction of approach, and the frequency is already set. We are expecting to make contact with the ISS when it is over the middle of the ocean between Newfoundland and Ireland. We follow the ISS during 11 minutes, and we probably lose contact when the ISS is above Turkey. So when I start calling, normally the answer, but it can happen that we must calling a few times before it pops over the horizon, and we have line in sight. So I can give you the expression of noise when we listen and we hear nothing. That in short what we will do, John.
Oh, very good, Jan. Thanks for sharing us something about your station and also exactly how we're going to handle the contact. We have about 12 minutes until contact time. Our contact today is with astronaut Shannon Walker, KD5 DXB, who will be using the ISS call sign OR4ISS. The American Radio Relay League has provided us with a short video that tells us a little bit more about an ISS contact and how it will all happen. Let's watch that video together.
Hi, my name is Ruth.
And my name is Chris.
You must be pretty excited to talk directly with astronauts on the International Space Station today. While we're waiting for the space station to come over your portion of the sky, let's talk a little bit about how it's going to happen. Of course, Mission Control is in contact with astronauts all the time, using a big radio with lots of fancy equipment.
However, we're going to be using something very different today. We are going to use ham or amateur radio to talk directly to the International Space Station.
When most people hear the word radio, they think of a music radio station, but it's so much more than that. Radio actually refers to the unseen energy that transmits all sorts of signals using electromagnetic waves. At first, people learned how to send signals like Morse code, and then they discovered that you can send so much more, like data, computer signals, and even TV.
Maybe you don't realize it, but you use radio every day. Maybe you watched the TV this morning, or you texted your friends, or maybe even you check social media like Twitter or Instagram.
Let's travel back to space for a minute. Since the beginning of the space age, humans have sent many spacecraft out into the universe. These range from the Hubble Space Telescope, orbiting the Earth daily, and the Curiosity rover exploring Mars. We've even sent a long-distance messenger, the Voyager 1, who has traveled outside of our solar system.
Whether it's capturing a great picture of a far-off galaxy or conducting experiments on the space station, radio has to do with all of these. And today, you're going to be using ham radio. Now you might be wondering, what exactly is ham radio?
Amateur or ham radio is a service and a hobby where operators can talk with people around their neighborhoods, their cities, their country, and even around the world. amateur radio operators require a radio license from the government. They're not that hard to get. I have one. My call sign is KM4LAO.
And mine is KD8YVJ. Our call signs are a way of identifying who we are to other operators. This lets everyone know that we have the proper license to using the radios.
As amateur radio operators, or hands as we are often called, we can talk with others about basically whatever we want, often science or some new radio gadget that we are interested in.
Let's focus back to the space station and your contact today. Many of the astronauts and cosmonauts aboard the space station are licensed ham radio operators. That's why your operators today can contact them. The people here, as well as the astronauts, are licensed to talk to each other, and you are allowed to talk over to their radio.
For our conversation today, we'll need an amateur radio station on the ground, either in this location or somewhere else around the world. We'll also need a radio in the space station.
NA1SS, NA1SS.
You can hear the calls coming. This is November Alpha 1 Sierra Sierra, the International Space Station, over.
On the space station, the radio transceiver is connected to an amateur radio antenna mounted on the outside. One of these antennas will be used today during our contact.
For our side of the contact, we need a good-sized antenna, a signal amplifier, something to make our signal stronger, and a rotator for turning our antenna. We have to keep our antenna pointed right at the International Space Station. And remember, it's moving across the sky and fast.
To aim the antenna properly, we need to track the path of the space station exactly. NASA uses complex systems to track the path of the space station and other orbiting objects.
The satellite tracking program we are using works out a complicated set of mathematics to provide the orbital location of the space station moment by moment as it moves through space. This information is sent into the computer that controls the antenna rotator, which moves the antenna to follow the space station. Maybe some of you have seen or worked with robotics. That's pretty cool stuff. And just like you can program a robot where to go, what to do, and how to get there, you can also program a computer to tell an antenna how to track the space station across the sky.
You know, it took a lot of planning to get this contact. Several weeks ago, the ARIS operations team had to figure out when the space station's orbit would pass over this location. Then, they had to talk with the planners at NASA's Johnson Space Center. The crew's time is pretty full, so they were able to find a time that could work for the crew members' schedules. Once they found times that would work both in space and here on the ground, the host organized this contact. And in just a few minutes, you'll be hearing and talking to the astronauts.
Well, it's almost time for your contact. It will be exciting, so good luck with it.
Well, that I hope helps everyone understand exactly what happens from the ground side of things on the contact that we're about to make. Astronaut Tim Peake, KG5BVI, recorded a short video to show us what a contact looks like from the ISS side of things. Let's watch this video also.
This is N2SJ, over.
NA2SJ from NA1SS for scheduled contact.
Hi everyone, I'm Tim Peake and welcome aboard the International Space Station, where we're orbiting Earth 16 times every day. One of the most rewarding activities that some astronauts undertake on orbit is to talk to schools using the space station's ham radio. Now these are events that are planned by ARIS, which is a worldwide group of amateur radio volunteers who are dedicated to introducing young people and students to science, technology, engineering and mathematics. Now this is the equipment here in the Columbus laboratory, which consists of a handheld radio, a headset, and we also have a ham video unit. Now as the International Space Station orbits above your location, a radio link is established between the ISS and your school. Now because we're traveling at nearly 18,000 miles per hour, which is an incredible 25 times the speed of sound, we usually get about 9 or 10 minutes of good radio contact before losing the signal. So about 5 minutes before the scheduled start time of the contact, I come into the Columbus laboratory and configure the radio so that I'm on the correct channel. And sometimes I'll set up the ham video too. Just before the predicted time, I'll begin to start calling the school using the standard amateur radio calling techniques. For example, if the call sign of your school was GB4 Fun, I would say Golf Bravo 4, Foxtrot Uniform November. This is Golf Bravo 1 Sierra Sierra, listening and standing by. Now at your school, the radio operator will be listening for my call, but may also transmit and try to call me as well. You'll probably have a much more powerful transmitter on the ground than we have up here on board, so I'm likely to hear you before you hear me. Then, once we can hear each other, then comes the best bit, which is actually talking to the students and answering the questions. Once I've answered all the questions, we use the remaining time to say goodbye to each other and end the connection. I'll then spend a few minutes configuring the radio back into a rebroadcast mode, and then I'll go back to my day job, which is of course doing science on board the International Space Station. ARIS is a brilliant opportunity for astronauts to talk to school pupils. It's really rewarding to hear how excited the students are when they're talking to somebody up here in space. And it's a true privilege to be able to inspire our next generation of scientists and engineers through amateur radio.
Well, that's always a very interesting video to watch. If you notice, the handheld radio that he referred to, we'll be using a different radio today, but the one he referred to is just kind of floating in the microgravity inside the International Space Station there. It really wasn't hooked to anything. I've often wondered what it would be like to be in an environment like that for a very long time. ARIS is presently celebrating its 25th anniversary. We have made over 1,300 school contacts, and we are the longest running, continuously running experiment on the International Space Station. The first contact having been established just 11 days after permanent occupancy of the ISS was begun. So this has really been a very long-running and very successful experience. It's brought the space station into the schools for literally hundreds of thousands of students. I have about 2 minutes now until the contact occurs. In response to the COVID-19 situation, the ARIS program, just like you, has changed our approach. With you no longer to go to school as usual, we are using distant learning tools to bring the astronauts to you as you shelter in place or your homes or meet under different conditions at school. We all need to be as quiet as possible when not speaking, but please remember that many of us are at home. So if a dog barks, little sister unexpectedly cries, or we heard a couple weeks ago, a rooster crows in the background, these are just the sounds of home. Remember that what we are doing on the ISS is an experiment, and we can never quite know the results until the experiment is finished. Students, please remember, it's very important to say over at the end of the contact. So Jan, I'm going to turn it over to you, and good luck with the contact.
Okay, John. Well, on my screen from my computer, I can see that the International Space Station is minus 8 degrees in elevation. That means that it's not visible for me in direct line of sight, and that we cannot make contact, and we have to wait till it pops over the horizon. And elevation is now minus 7 degrees, and starting correction of my antennas for precise appointing. The frequency is also set, and I start calling in 15 seconds, I think, but now, no, it's not, minus 6 degrees, so we have a little bit to wait. The call sign that the International Space Station will use is Oscar Romeo 4 India Sierra Sierra. And my call sign when I calling the station is Oscar November 4 India Sierra Sierra. So it's almost the same, but the only difference is the Romeo, and it's our two call signs assignment to Belgian stations. That's the information. So mine is 4 degrees, and I think we have 20 seconds to go before it's the moment for calling, but I can try a little bit before, so we have probably a few times noise before Shannon will answer our call. Oscar Romeo 4 ISS, Oscar Romeo 4 ISS. Dit is Oscar November 4, India Sierra Sierra for an adult Irish scale contact. How copy, over? Oscar Romeo 4 ISS, Oscar Romeo 4 ISS. Dit is Oscar November 4, India Sierra Sierra for an Irish scale contact. How copy, over? Oscar Romeo 4 ISS, Oscar Romeo 4 ISS. Dit is Oscar November 4, India Sierra Sierra for an error scale contact. How copy, over? Oscar Romeo 4 ISS. Dit is Oscar November 4, India Sierra Sierra for an error scale contact. How copy, over?
Oscar November 4 ISS, this is OL4 ISS. I have you loud and clear, over.
Okay, we're receiving you not so strong, but your signal will be better in your next transmission. Over.
I copy. Signal is not strong, but hopefully getting better. Over.
Yes, we're receiving you loud and clear, and we have students of Sterling Middle School in Loudoun County, Virginia. Are you ready for questions? Over.
I am ready for questions. Over.
Okay, school, go ahead.
This is Valentina. What kind of training do you have to complete to become an astronaut? Over.
Valentina, a great question. A lot of what we do as our training is kind of like being in school. We study all the systems of our spacecraft. After that, we do a bunch of simulations to make sure we're ready for spaceflight. Over.
This is Giovanni. How do astronauts stay healthy in space? Over.
Giovanni, excellent question. Being healthy is very important. We actually have 3 exercise devices on the space station. We have an exercise bike that we can ride, we have a treadmill that we can run on, and we've got a machine that does the equivalent of lifting weights in space. Over.
This is Ariana. What made you want to become an astronaut? Over.
Ariana, I was 4 years old when we first landed people on the moon. Ever since then, I wanted to be an astronaut. Over.
This is Aiden. What is your daily routine like? Over.
Aiden, you know what? Every day is different on the space station. Some days we do maintenance, some days we do spacewalks, and most days we do a lot of science. Over.
Do the sun, stars, sunrises, and sunsets look different from the ISS compared to Earth? Over.
You know what? A lot of it's the same, but a lot of it's different. The sun and the stars look the same because we're not that much closer to them, but sunrises and sunsets are pretty spectacular from the space station, and of course we get 16 of them each day.
Hi, this is Ryan. How did your ship get you back down to Earth? Over.
Ryan, fantastic question. We always need a way back home. So our spaceship will undock from the space station, and it's got an engine on it, and we do a big engine burn that heads us back towards Earth. Over.
This is Isabella. What is the weirdest thing that has happened to you in space? Over.
Isabella, you know, I'm not even sure what the weirdest thing is. I think mostly it's very easy to lose things in space because if you don't put them down properly, they will just float away in no time flat. Over.
This is Annabelle. How do you feel emotionally and physically while in the rocket, on your way to the ISS, and on your way back? Over.
Annabelle, there's a lot of emotions involved in a launch. Mostly I'm very excited and a little bit hesitant just because you never know if everything's going to go right. But as soon as the engines light off, it's all excitement going up to the space station. Physically, it can be pretty hard on the body. You feel the force of gravity many times over when you're launching. On the way home, it's a lot of emotion there as well because at the time when I know it won't be too long so I get to see my friends and family again. And once we get back on Earth, gravity is a little hard to get adjusted to again. Over.
This is Kaylee. What was your reaction when you found out you were chosen to go to the ISS? Over.
Kaylee, I was so excited when I found out I was going to the ISS. It was something that I had been working towards my entire life, and to get the opportunity to actually do it is incredible. Over.
This is Miriam. When you return to Earth, how long does it take for you to be able to walk again? And do you experience any other side effects of being in zero gravity for extended time? Over.
Miriam, excellent question. Actually, when we get back to Earth, we have no problems walking, sort of, because of all the exercise we do up here. The biggest problem is your inner ear. Your inner ear is what gives you your balance, and it works off of gravity. And because it hasn't had gravity in a while, it is very confused when you get back on Earth. You feel really, really dizzy for a while, and it takes a while to get over that. Other than that, you've got a lot of aches and pains while your body's adjusting to gravity again. Over.
This is Giovanni asking for Dylan. How do you eat and drink in space without spilling and damaging equipment? Over.
Dylan, that is a very excellent question. Because if we don't keep our stuff in check, it will go everywhere and will damage equipment. But mostly, we have all our liquids in drink bags, so we drink out of a straw, so everything is contained. And all our food is a little bit wet, so it sticks to the spoon and doesn't go flying everywhere. Over.
This is Ariana. What do you like to do for fun in space? Over.
Ariana, honestly, I like to go flying through the space station like I'm Wonder Woman. I like to look out the window and see our beautiful planet, and I like to spend time with my crewmates. Over.
Makadis. This is Makadis asking for Liliani. Are you able to bring your phones and other personal items with you to the ISS? Over.
Makadis and Liliana, we actually are not allowed to bring our phones up here. We don't have access to cell towers, so they wouldn't do any good. But we are allowed to bring some personal items. I've got some pictures of my family, so I can always have them close to me. Over.
This is Aiden asking for Omar. When you first come back to Earth, what will be your first meal? Over.
Aiden and Omar, that is something we talk about a lot. I haven't actually decided, but when it gets close time to come home, the folks on the ground will ask us what we want to eat. Last time when I came home, it was Thanksgiving, and so we had a turkey dinner as our first meal. Over.
This is Valentina asking for Julia. What do astronauts do if you fall sick in space? Over.
Valentina and Julia, we try very hard to make sure we don't get sick in space. Actually, we go into quarantine much like everybody on Earth is doing right now. We spend several weeks in quarantine to make sure that we don't have any illnesses, so we are not sick when we go into space, and we don't take any diseases up to the crew on the space station. Over.
This is Kaylee asking for Amaya. How does it feel to be inside the ISS all the time? Does the environment inside the ISS fluctuate? Over.
Kaylee and Amaya, it's kind of like being in an office building all the time. The temperature and humidity doesn't fluctuate much. Sometimes it does a little bit, but it's like being indoors, but with a spectacular view outside the window. Over.
This is Miriam asking for Ashley. If you were an astronaut, what job would you have? Over.
Miriam and Ashley, it's something I've thought about. I've worked for NASA my whole career, but I think if I weren't working for NASA, I would probably be something in the environmental fields protecting our planet. Over.
This is Annabelle asking for Zane. How does it feel to experience 16 sunrises and 16 sunsets every day? Over.
Annabelle and Zane, good question. We don't actually, since it's kind of hard to see all the sunrises and sunsets every day because we're working so hard. So most of the time I only get to see a couple, but it's always very special when I get to see a sunrise or a sunset. Over.
Hi, this is Ryan asking for George. How do you train to be in low gravity places? Over.
Ryan and George, it's really hard to train to be in low gravity. When I was first an astronaut, we took a plane ride and did some special maneuvers in the plane where we got to float for about 25 seconds at a time, and that's the only real training we have to be in without gravity. Over.
This is Isabella. What do you eat while in space, and what is your favorite food? Over.
You know, Isabella, one of the best things about the International Space Station is we get international food. So we've got food from all around the world. But my favorite food, I think, is actually the curry that we get from Japan. Japanese curry is the best. Over.
Okay, Reggie?
This is Raji Ganguly, science teacher at Sterling Middle School. On behalf of our Sterling Middle School community and those watching around the world, thank you, Dr. Walker, for the lifetime of memories you just created for our students today, and for your tremendous contribution to science and space exploration. Now, we will all celebrate the momentous event we have all been part of. Good job, students on the call, Sterling Middle, Sterling Elementary, and Guilford Elementary admin, ISTs, teachers, staff, and of course, our students. Big round of applause for everyone. Woohoo!
And I hope you all will consider working for NASA someday. Over.
Okay, thank you, Shannon, for this opportunity to talk with students and asking questions. This is Oscar November 4, India Sierra Sierra, Oven Clear with Oscar Romeo 4, ISS 73.
Over and out.
All right, what a great contact. We've all just been part of a distance learning activity featuring students of the Sterling Middle School speaking with astronaut Shannon Walker on the International Space Station. On behalf of all ARIS international volunteer teams, sponsors, and space agencies, this is John, amateur radio operator K7SYS, sending my greetings to all of you in traditional amateur radio terms. 7 threes of best wishes. Operator, you may stop the recording, and Steve,